Check one, check two. This is Jay Moore of the New Old Heads podcast, and episode number 422 is in your phone and on your smart TV right now. In this episode, we talked about DJ Akademiks and his ban from Twitch. We also talked about Kendrick Lamar and his ability to perhaps pay Debbie Deb, who sang on his Squabble Up record. Also, the disconnect between generations in the music industry. Is it a real thing? We reacted to some statements that Sean Stockman of Boys to Men had to make. And also, we talked about Kanye West and his most impactful eras socially and musically. Once again, episode number 422 of the New Old Heads is in your phone right now. You're listening to the New Old Heads podcast, shot live every Tuesday at twitch.tv/newoldheads and released every Thursday at noon via bringingdowntheband.com. The show is brought to you by Coleman Dental, Indie CD and Vinyl. Support the show directly by becoming a member at patreon.com/newoldheads.
You are now tuned in to the New Old Heads podcast. I am Major 7th. The brothers are in the building, starting off with my brother, Jay Moore. How are you, good sir?
I'm doing well, doing very well. You know, just doing what I got to do to, start the year off. We almost into February. That's how fast things are moving.
Man, we just getting old. Man. My man, Lonegevity. How are you, good sir?
I'm great, man. Thanks for joining the show this week.
Yeah. I'm here.
I'm happy you're here.
Thanks, man. Good to see you, too. Oh, man, DJ Jay Diff. What's happening, man?
Salutations.
Everything good your way?
Yes, indeed. I am here.
Yeah.
I am present
Had a success.
for the show that we do every week.
Yeah. I'm just checking, make sure everybody's, mental health is good.
Is your mental health good?
It's better this week.
Is it?
2025.
A little stress last week?
Yeah, I was real stressed last week.
Yeah,
the cold
mental health is a day by day, maybe hour by hour thing.
For sure.
Could be hour by hour. That's true.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Every day when I wake up, I'm like, all right, just like I think it was a Star Trek The Next Generation where it's like, damage report.
Oh, analysis.
Yeah.
Damage report.
Yeah.
NVIDIA down $900 million.
Man.
Yeah,
Damage report negative.
Yeah.
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 We didn't really want to cover this when we went over our pre-meeting on Sunday, but DJ Akademiks has been caught being weird and grooming essentially a 15-year-old streamer. It goes by Noir God or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But news has been everywhere in the last few days. A video leaked of a private, I think it was a Discord chat with him and a bunch of people, including Akademiks, and I believe another person that was in it was like Tory Lanez's manager or something.
Mm-hmm.
And
Damn Canadians.
And it was a 15-year-old, and there was just some weird stuff going on in relations to Akademiks. And let's watch this video here. That's kind of a splice of a piece of what FD Signifier has talked about in his video that he released about it. And then also a clip from Rap Latte that had the company man and Screwface Jean on it today, who actually, Screwface John was actually interviewing and or talking to Noir, who's a streamer, amidst all this stuff happening. So he's got some inside information.
But to summarize, in this Discord chat, they offered to send strippers to this boy's house. They asked him over and over again about having sex with women and girls, many of which would have been adult women. Akademiks asked him about having sex with someone's older sister and then asking him about having sex with an older man. At least one guy, who I will point out is not Akademiks, straight up says to this 15-year-old boy, if I can't you, I'm cutting you off. And Akademiks is egging this on, by the way. And it's my understanding that this guy in particular is Tory Lanez's manager, yet another connection to the Drake Legion of Henchmen. Even in this description, I cannot do justice to how gross this whole thing was, not just because of the things coming out of Akademiks and these other men's mouths, but also because it seems like multiple other grown men were present in this and didn't intervene.
Can you share a bit of your conversation with Noor? Yeah, I know. I'm not sure if you published that or not. I think you decided not to, but how'd that conversation go?
Crazy, too, because I did the interview, and honestly, that's another reason that heated me up, because he exposed a lot of the lies that people were trying to say before they start, there's a lot, because I interviewed him right as that tweet stuff went up. So he was telling me a lot of the stuff. He showed me some behind the scenes stuff of where they were trying to cover stuff up because they knew it was about to look bad. And Noor was smart enough to document it all. He had it all documented. He had all, and I was just like, man, especially with the way that he was talking to them, I was like, for a 15-year-old, you handled this immaculately. So he showed me a lot of behind the scenes stuff, a lot of lies that they were going to kick, that already kicked, a lot of lies that Akademiks ended up like saying, before Akademiks said him, where it's like, oh yeah, they're gonna try to spin it like it's, oh, we're friends, we're little bros. Like, no, I don't really know him like that. Like, that's what he was saying. And Akademiks like, no, this is my little brother and stuff like that. And he told me how he got into the live stream, because that was a question I had. Like, how did this even initially happen? And so, yeah, most of that information came out now.
So folks are explaining to me in the chat that Aiden Ross is banned from Twitch. And if you have somebody on your stream who is banned, then you get banned, because otherwise how can Twitch defend their bans? So he had Aiden on with a phone call. And that's why Twitch is, that's what Chad is telling me, that's why they're mad and banning Ak.
I mean, they got Al Capone on taxes.
Right, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like, you're really telling me that up at Twitch headquarters, they saw that they ain't see the 15-year-old grooming tape. They ain't say, no, we cannot have that.
A lot of information there. I don't know if you guys had seen all of that, but
I've been
a lot of stuff.
When I see somebody get banned or deplatformed, okay, I want to know exactly what happened. It's just as much so we don't make any of those same mistakes. But then when I'm hearing exactly what went down, I'm like, you know, I like to believe people aren't this stupid, but I think sometimes when those lights turn on and that camera gets to rolling and you start seeing all the comments and the names going by, you get caught up in the hype.
Yeah.
I just know, like, even it's not that I'm on for my social media. I don't think I have anything that other than telling people where I'm going to be and what I'm doing,
right?
You know, or occasionally posting something cool that I saw, or maybe something that's a tad political in my stories. You know, I don't have any real spicy content, but I do not follow or let any of even my under 18-year-old family members follow me on social media. That might be me being way too cautious, but I know the type of world that we live in, and, you know, the type of influence that even in a small way I might have on people whose brains aren't completely formed yet and aren't adults and can't make certain decisions for themselves. And, like, you know, for as entertained as I am with Boosie, I think the thing that was most disgusting that he talked about is, like, you know, having women, you know, service his younger sons. And it's like, you know, what part of the game is that? You know, these are these are children. You know, you shouldn't be co-signing anything that has to do with children. You know, I know it's a different thing. We have this double standard, and honestly, life is made of double standards when it comes to young men, you know, because you'll see those stories about some kids partying with a grown teacher. And, you know, if it's young boys who are getting it popping with their grown teacher, you'll hear goofy things from grown men saying, like, where were these teachers when I was growing up? But, you know, if it's a 15-year-old girl and, you know, the gym teacher's, you know, contacting her on Instagram, he's automatically a creep, and that's how it should be. But we know that these double standards exist, and sometimes we can get caught up in the hype, especially when we start to talk about young men and their sexuality. I just think all of this is, I mean, we got to start having real conversations about how young men are victims as well. And I think that's part of, I think that's a large part of it that we just ignore, that we just think, oh yeah, I would have loved to got it popping when I was 15. You say that as a grown man, it's really foul for you to say. If this is really what was going on, like I said, I don't want to even dig too deep into it and have it too much a part of my algorithm. But if you're in there encouraging, you know, a minor, you know, I'm not even going to put a young man or young woman, you know, don't just say it's a minor, and you're encouraging, you know, adults to perform any type of sexual act with a minor, even if you think it's in jest, you're definitely in the wrong. And, you know, I'm sorry, that was enough for you to be deplatformed. So I'm just saying, let's have real conversations, whether it be men, or I'm not even going to say men, let's boys or girls. When we're talking about minors, you know, let's be honest about there's a lot of victimization going on. We can't just dismiss it or laugh it off when it's young men.
Yeah, and it's you know, it's kind of rooted, and I think I can't remember exactly because I didn't watch FD's full video, but I think he also referenced, you know, the patriarchy in a sense in his video. Terry, did you watch the video?
I watched it.
Did he reference that a little bit? Like,
yeah, he kind of brought up the fact that we actually grow up in situations to where if you're actually with, like, your bigger brothers, your cousins, things of that nature, coming up as a youngin', you're probably they're going to test you as far as where your head's at, things of that nature, which is a fact when it comes to being a young man coming up regardless. But in this particular situation, especially, he does not know this child. He's a child.
Right.
I want to shout out the kid too. I don't know his name, but he really handled himself well. You can tell that he's been brought up the correct way, because he's literally telling them that
he's educating them.
This is not what you want to do, and this isn't a good idea, and they just kept going on. Thing with Ak, man, he is the quintessential "where my hug at" dude.
Where my hug at?
They ended up getting money, and this is like the worst type of person, because you are a corny dude when it comes to that. You want to get your hug or whatnot, and for you and the dude to pretty much play tennis with this young man as far as telling him what you need to do and propositioning him and trying to set him up, saying we looking out for you. You know what I'm saying? Bigging him up that way. That's foul. If anything, since he's a streamer and you're a streamer, excuse me, you should have been put in a position to drop gems for him, tell him
He
things
don't have
that
any, though.
But he
really don't have any game
He's been
to give
in
him.
it though. He's been in it, and he's successful at it again. So he has something to say as far as that's concerned.
But again, you're talking about what you referred to as the "where's my hug" guy. So this is to be expected in this type of behavior, and the type of behavior that he's always exuded in everything that he's kind of done. Maybe not to this extreme.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, at least publicly, allegedly. Right.
Right.
But all things considered, like, this wasn't surprising to me, and that's another one of the reasons why I wasn't really interested in covering this at first, because I was like, oh, Akademiks is doing Akademiks things.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
I had it for him to even double back down on the situation when he addressed it, and he's not really apologizing for the situation.
No, he's not at all.
He's doubling down on it, and he went as far as to say, this is what really got me. He brought it back to the Drake and Kendrick thing.
So that was one of my points.
These are the not Drake, but these are the Kendrick fans that are coming at me.
He said these Kendrick fans trying to make it weird.
Yeah. No, you made it weird. You're the one that did it. So that's why I don't understand why don't you take accountability for this stuff? And these jokes write themselves. You have been the poster boy for Drake, who you've yet to meet or whatever. You don't even know this dude for real. You just
crashing out for no reason.
You just pretty much do whatever he says goes, and he has this case going on, and you are following right in suit with the stuff that allegedly was spoken about in the Not Like Us song.
I've been trying to figure out how to compute those two things together in my head, but there's some sort of glue that's connecting the stuff that was said about
and then
Drake
they have
and
Tory Lane's manager too.
Exactly.
It's like, come on, man, y'all are all pretty much in this together. I'm sorry.
How did you walk into this one?
Yeah.
Bro, it's like Lone said.
It's like you saw a minefield and we're like, well, let me see what's going on there.
I can navigate
It's like
this.
it's par for the course, really, with him. I wasn't to your point about your initial reaction. It's like, he's just being a cornball again.
I tried to react to it on Saturday. You were in the chat.
I remember.
And I was like, I don't want to watch this. I was like,
but money doesn't change you, man. It just makes you more who you already are. To his point, this is who he was before he became successful. The guy
allegedly.
Allegedly. Let me make sure I get that out there. But it's obvious, bro. And I think anything that comes along with it, you have to be more responsible as an adult. I don't care how successful you are as a streamer. I don't care about none of that. As a grown man, you have to use common sense and be more responsible about how you act around younger people. So, or just people in general, but especially younger people.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I don't understand either how they thought that was content. So, I mean, the kid
nothing about that was cool.
Playing a video game.
Exactly.
Was that live? Is that because I wasn't sure if they were all live or if that was just they were all in a private Discord chat.
I'm not sure. It might have been something like that.
To do with that Playboy Max guy too, or something.
I'm not sure if it was live at the moment. I don't know.
I don't think it was, because I do remember hearing Screwface saying that Nora recorded everything.
Yeah, and that he was trying to bury it or trying to kind of spin the narrative on it.
So I don't think it was live. I think it was.
Plus, to Terry's point about his reaction is disgusting. It's just like you have arrogance when you respond to whatever everybody is saying and how everybody is responding to him. He almost doubled down and was arrogant about it.
No, he did double down.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, but he was arrogant about it while he did it. To me, that just shows more of you just being a lame. You double down, you choose to double down coming off that. Nah, that's lame, bro.
He likes Drake so much that he wants to be associated with the PDF file claims.
I've never seen I don't know if I've seen someone crash out like this and bring up LeBron and all this other stuff just for somebody that you haven't even met in real life? Like, how stupid is that? How stupid do you have to be? How bad do you want to be down to crash out for somebody that you've never met?
Yeah, I don't.
That's weird to me, bro.
But I don't think the thing is yeah, it's not intentional. This is just who he is,
Yeah,
right?
that's exactly
So it's
who
just
he is.
he's just that dude.
He probably thought when he was in there, he thought he was joking around. He probably thought, and everybody in there that was in there thought that they were doing this guy a solid, joking with him in that type of manner. And it just so happened that the 15-year-old literally schooled them on how to behave around.
Handled it so well too.
Like he was like,
Handled
"What
it
are y'all?" I mean, he was like, "What are y'all doing?
Yeah.
Like, what are y'all doing?"
I'm
He
15.
even went as far as to say that he pretty much can't be canceled.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
Akademiks
he
said that.
really feels that big about himself that he feels like he can say anything or do anything. And I mean, it's just a sad case of, again, if you think back to the cats at school that was a where my hug at type of dude, this is the exact same energy they were on.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So,
Well,
yeah, your demise is about to be bad, buddy.
them chickens about to come home. I know that.
Once again, anybody who's a content creator out there, read the terms of service. All right. I know that's probably the smallest part of this.
Well, it's not even. Well, the thing is,
But-
Jay, is not even related to it because Twitch didn't ban him for that. Twitch banned him for randomly having a conversation with Aiden Ross about some other stuff.
I think in that, well, then that's something.
Didn't he lose
The
a couple
Twitch-
more sponsorships?
Oh, no, he lost like
outside of
dad
Twitch,
water.
though?
Yeah, it was Steak. I think that's the
That's
gambling
wild
company.
if you lose stake because they don't care about anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
speaks volumes.
yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, once again, when you think about what his platform is, I mean, because regardless of how you feel about Akademiks, he has a platform. I mean, he kind of has a platform. I'm not sure what he's going to do now. I don't know, move to Rumble or one of these other upstarts.
Don't care.
Cake, maybe. I don't. Yeah.
But his following, if they really care that much, because also sometimes if you lose this situation with Twitch, everybody, especially his fan base of younger people, they're all on Twitch. If you ask them to make a couple more clicks to go somewhere else, that's too much work. And it's just like
Twitch is going to hurt him.
Unless it's a temporary ban, which we don't know.
because he's had temporary
we
bans
talked
before.
about
The
him
same
being
thing
banned.
with Aiden Ross before, didn't he?
I think so.
Yeah.
At this point in time, like if you're still an Akademiks fan after all this, like it goes back to the FD video from the Drake thing where he said, you are a loser if you like Akademiks at this point. Like you are a loser. Like that's loser energy.
I agree 100%.
I mean, but
after all of this and including this, and you're still copping for this dude, like you are a loser.
But people are so impressed by the metrics of success that they'll be like, but look at what he's got this many followers. He has this many people. He's got
zero now.
Well, true. But like that's for a lot of people, that is how they can justify just horrible shit.
Yeah.
They can look at the metrics and say, look how many followers he has. Look how much money he's generating. He must be doing something right.
He must be doing something right.
This must be somebody who's worth my time and energy. And honestly, that's just not the way to live your life as an adult. But of course, me being almost 48 years old, I have a different mentality when it comes to these things. But if you're 19 and
red pilled
or whatever, and you have a mentality is like whoever's got a bunch of followers, whoever's got a bunch of money, that automatically makes them valuable. Now, I'm not going to act like, when I was young, I wasn't impressed by, people in the platinum plaques and whoever had the most money. I mean, that's why they publish, how much somebody's contract is going to be for, whether it's been in sports or, I remember it was a big deal when of all people, Janet Jackson got the biggest contract in the history of music. And then like Michael Jackson signed a bigger one like the next day. That's the competition in the family. But, so, I mean, I'm not going to act like it's just this generation's fault, but it's so much easier for them to get caught up. Because I think you talked about when you were, in front of talking to some kids and they asked you, like, they were like, well, how many followers? And
that's always the go-to question.
Yeah. Or how many views?
I had to win them over by showing them bringing down the band and new old heads and clips and content. Once they saw that, they're like, oh, okay.
Then they thought you were worth listening to.
Then I was legit. Yeah.
You know.
Then I could go to the presentation.
Like I said, when I posted the picture of the, our 100,000 follower plaque, there were people who were like, congratulations. But then I realized how much it means to younger people.
Yeah.
Because it was like, my friends and fans, their kids thought that was the coolest thing in the world.
100%.
Like that means the same thing as a platinum plaque to them. So here it is. Like Akademiks. I don't know if he's on
Twitter,
or X or
probably,
what is it? YouTube. Like, I don't know.
On YouTube.
I don't know. He might have 1 million followers. He might have the gold plaque. And so to them, that means so much more than anything that he's done morally.
For sure.
But you still can get the hell up out of here on some bullshit.
100%.
And we've seen that happen multiple times. Hell, who is the chick that had interviewed Drake at one point in time?
Oh yeah,
Bobby.
Yeah,
Bobby. She's pretty much. You haven't heard anything from her.
She's
I don't even know.
Tyga.
Is she?
I don't know, man. Like,
he said
she's
that's
really
so
falling
random.
off.
He said that's so random.
the crazy thing is, I literally was scrolling on TikTok and it was Bobby leaving a Tyga stream. And she was at his house, and I guess they're dating. But she was married with kids when she started, so I don't know, man. Don't
get caught up in the hype. I don't care what it is you're doing. Just don't get so caught up in the hype you lose yourself.
Yeah.
And
he didn't lose himself.
He didn't lose himself because this is who he is.
He's just a weirdo in real life.
Look at him. I mean,
Allegedly.
look at him. Look at this guy, man. He didn't get chicks in high school.
Looking like Jerry.
Yeah. Who's Erica?
That was hilarious.
Yeah, she
was like, you remind me of someone.
Yeah. Oh, really? Oh.
You look very familiar.
I look very familiar?
Yeah.
Do you have YouTube?
The name Thomas keeps coming to me. Damn, you look familiar.
I do?
It's something nostalgic, like my childhood or something.
Oh, shit.
Listen, I got it.
You got it?
Yes.
Could it be divulged on
You're not
camera?
going to believe it. It's so simple.
Oh,
it's
wow.
really simple.
Joe, get
You
out.
remind me. You know who you look like? You look like Jerry. The mouse from Tom and Jerry.
Hold up.
He didn't get no play.
Yeah.
No,
Right, took himself to the prom.
This is a clip here. Well, let's go back a little bit. Kendrick Lamar's Squabble Up video and song obviously samples an 80s dance artist Debbie Deb's voice. She is not going to be receiving any publishing from this because of the story that's going to be told here by the One Song podcast with Diallo, Riddle, and Luxury.
So what's interesting about this is that you've got definitely that second one is the sample, the vocal.
Right.
And the first one might also be a sample, but it might
But
just
we're
be
not
a
sure
replay.
if he had some people replay it.
It wouldn't be that difficult to do. It's just
Yeah.
that same synth, which isn't available on pretty much any DAW workstation, synthesizer. You'll have that bass patch.
Totally.
It's so iconic. But what's interesting about this song when you dig a little deeper is, unfortunately, Debbie Deb, who's so famous from this track, she blew up. She was 17 years old. She was a record store employee in Miami when Pretty Tony Butler came into the record store. Producer Pretty Tony Butler and liked the sound of her voice, her speaking voice, and had her sing on a couple tracks he was working on. She sang that 18-note hook that you hear. It's her voice. This is one of those classic examples, unfortunately, of the thing you're hearing in the sample. The person's voice you're hearing got nothing from it. She got work for hire. She got paid on the day. But in spite of that song being sampled so prominently on this huge, important song, she's not getting.
She doesn't get publishing.
She didn't get any publishing on this. I found a quote from her where she says, she was excited when she heard she'd be, on the track.
Yeah.
So Debbie says, I think it would be so amazing if there was some justice for me, just so I can say, yeah, I feel good about it now, because I always felt like I had a raw deal with it, and I've come to accept it. So I hope Kendrick hears me. I hope he realizes what happened to me, and he got some heart about it, and he realizes, damn, she was robbed. Quote, and if he doesn't, that's all good. I'm going to be fine either way.
Well, that's the problem with work for hire.
Yeah.
Like those of you who are really deeper into the music, specifically James Brown, Clyde Stubblefield, the original funky drummer, who has been sampled hundreds, if not thousands of times. he gets nothing from any time the Funky Drummer, anything that he worked on as far as James Brown. He gets no credit, no publishing, nothing. He, they get to shout him out and be like, oh yeah, Clyde Stubblefield, who has passed on. He's with the ancestors now. I mean, the music industry is riddled with stories like this, with this song being so big and Kendrick being such a big artist. I mean, it's easy to point the finger and say, hey, he should do this, but his people went through their due diligence and cleared the sample, and they owe her a debt of gratitude for her contribution as far as, creating something that could be sampled and really, set up that song real nice. But he doesn't owe her not one single dime.
No, this is a situation where checks and balances have been, crossed off. Unfortunately, her paperwork wasn't right at the beginning. Mm-hmm. And this is one of those kind of, I don't want to say married, but kind of like as somebody that's made it in the business, that being Kendrick, you mind giving us like a good faith or a thank you payment because you can. I mean, you can't really expect an artist to do that, because I don't know what your situation was whenever I went through my steps in order to make sure that I'm able to get this cleared or whatnot. I just know that I got it cleared. And now you're telling me I really like that you did that, and I was hoping that at one point in time I could get paid off it, but it's still cool. It's really not. You're saying it's cool, but it's really not cool to you. And you're hoping that he's going to go out of his way to send you a check. I mean, this is one of them situations, like Jay-Z's even brought it up. I'm overtaxing people for what they did to Cold Crush because their record deals wasn't right. So I'm going to make sure I get paid. That doesn't mean I'm going to cut them a check too, because I mean, I did what I was supposed to do. But I mean, if he decides to give her some money, I ain't mad at him. But I don't, in no way, shape, or form, feel that he's obligated to pay her if I did the right thing.
That's what I was going to ask you, Lone, what you thought about the word "oh." Where are you at with that?
No, I don't think he owes her anything from a legal standpoint or anything like that. It would be cool if maybe he put it in the clause or something that he got paid
percentage or something
when they sampled it or
when
something. But that's, how would you know? You know what I mean? Like it's not. It's really falls on her, and it really falls on the way the music industry was. You know what I mean?
But the guy in the video, it kind of came off like this is something that's wrong with the music industry, if you will.
Yeah.
But Kendrick did what he did his due diligence.
What does one have to do with the other?
Well, I mean, to me, he came off like, well, how come? I took it as if throw her a bone, like just give her something. I'm like, he doesn't necessarily, to what we've been talking about, he doesn't have to do that.
Well, you could look at it from a moral stance as well. You know what I mean? Like the reason why you have to pay copyright publishing in the first place in the grand scheme of things is because it's technically owned by somebody. Mm-hmm. It's supposed to be owned by the people who create the thing that they're creating. It just so happens that laws were created around this that stipulate this versus this, and you have to do this and you have to do this to do these things, right?
Right.
It also, the law was created in a way to where like you have to understand it and you have to make sure that you're doing your due diligence. It was very predatory at the time. You know what I mean? So I think this is multiple things can be true at the same time. I don't think he's obligated to, but at the same time, I don't think it hurts, and I don't have any issue with her also saying I was done wrong, and this is my voice in this. It would be cool. I think what she said is perfectly fine. Me personally, you don't owe me anything, but it would be nice.
I wouldn't be mad if he did toss her a little something. I think that'd be dope. Like, I wouldn't be mad at it. I'm just saying he did. Based off the laws, to your point, he did what he was supposed to do.
He did what he was supposed to do, but I think the only other thing that step up from here would be like, hey, we have to change the law, right?
Yeah.
Or we have to.
Yeah. But at the same,
how do you, I mean.
But there, once again, and I just jump into these examples because it blows your mind sometimes how people are offered. They're in a position where, okay, we'll offer you $1,000. For you to just go ahead and sing this, your work for hire. And I'm not even saying she got that much because she was 17 years old and she was working at a record store.
Yeah.
She probably didn't
$150.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah. Well,
and so you're not thinking this is going to be something that not only gets played at the time, but then 20, 30 years later becomes, the foundation of a number one song in 2024. It's just like, I remember Vincent Price, who's the voice on Thriller. They said, hey, do you want, points or publishing, or do you want this one time amount of money. He said, I'll just take the one-time amount of money. 45 million records later, he probably should have, he probably should have taken some back end. Same thing with James Earl Jones. We know when he was the voice of Darth Vader in the original Star Wars movie, I think he, they said either, back end or a lump sum of money, as an actor, in, doing Broadway or whatever off Broadway at the time, and he's like, well, I probably need that $10,000 a month. What is this movie with a big walking dog and a wizard? This doesn't make any sense. Once again, $1 billion later, he probably should have taken the back end. Now, he did get a nice deal to basically license his voice in Star Wars, before he passed away.
That was smart.
But at the same time, it's a lot of times, especially artists get caught in a desperate situation where, I need money now. You can't talk to me about something I might get 18 months from now.
You never know somebody's situation either, because when people are approached with certain things, we don't know where they are in their lives.
Yeah.
Some people got 2 kids at the crib and the light's about to get cut off. What you gonna do?
I think, I don't know what you have to say, Terry, but I kind of think that this brings up a much deeper conversation around ownership and
that's what I was actually going to touch on. It's it's a situation to where, okay, Kendrick did it. He sampled it. He got all his checks and balances, but there's somebody that actually owns this and is being paid for it.
Yeah.
So this is a situation to where, like, okay, if these are the people that own this record that I cut and they were paid for it, and I was essentially was 17, right? Or was she a minor? 17 is considered a minor, right?
Yeah.
So in that type of situation,
not if you ask Akademiks.
Well,
brilliant.
That's even younger though.
Brilliant.
In that type of situation, that should be something that comes down to the ownership of the actual record that should have had to have done something in order to compensate the artist that's on there, because she wasn't in a position to where she could sign a record deal anyway by herself unless a parent or something was present. So I feel like that's who actually owes Debbie Deb
for sure
versus a Kendrick.
Yeah, I that's actually a really good point. Yeah, I would say that. Again, it depends on what the laws are, but and what everything was, what the contracts looked at. But I would take it even a step further and try to reimagine kind of like the way ownership looks like in content and and all this matter. Like, there's 2 ways to approach this. It's like, one, everybody owns everything, and you can just use whatever you want to use, which I don't know if I agree with that necessarily. And then there's obviously the way that it is. But then there's also, like, when it comes to publishing, I feel like there almost needs to be certain things in place to where, how like with copyrights, it doesn't really matter if you register it with the copyright office, as long as you create something and you can prove it.
As long as it's been postmarked.
Well, not even that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, not even that. Not even that. Like, the copyright doesn't start when you send it somewhere. The copyright starts when you make something.
When you make it, yeah.
The only reason you have to send it to the office is so that you can prove it, right? And that's the easiest way to prove it. I almost feel like the publishing aspect of all this should kind of be the same thing. Like, if you create something, regardless of if you paid somebody an X amount of money anyways, I still feel like, I kind of deep down feel like there should be, like, if you're in a bad situation, Mike, and I sample one of your, something like a piano chord that you do, and you're like, yeah, sure, I'll give you a couple $100 for it, right? Then it blows up.
Yeah.
Right? And then we don't talk to each other anymore. I can just collect that money all the time, and if you don't have any of your publishing, but I feel at the same time that you should be owed no matter what for creating the thing that you created.
Yeah.
I don't know how we get to that point necessarily, but I feel like that is a more equitable situation for these types of things. I don't know how the infrastructure can be built around this to where people shouldn't be able to. I know it's like this whole freedom of autonomy type thing and being able to sell if I want to sell my kidney, I can sell my kidney or whatever, right? But at the same time, I feel like people should be automatically given the ownership of the things that they create.
Or it should be like this was back in the 80s, so I think there's been enough years in between of when it was recorded and now that some of that, even if it was owned by somebody else,
they revert.
It should fall back to who helped create it as well.
Yeah, or something
you know what I'm saying?
like that.
Like you get paid for it for this X amount of time. If somebody does it 20, 30 years from now, there's something in there that says, okay, this person needs to be compensated as well.
I think it's really
That
hard.
would be dope.
It's really hard to document all that stuff, and I think that's kind of how the system is intended to be created, but it's just not sometimes. And what happens a lot of times with these people that are left out of these publishing deals or even master recording deals for that matter is they just don't have the means. So what you said to like, she got paid $150. She probably needed that $150.
She performed it, but I've literally seen videos of her performing this song too.
Really?
So it probably led to something else at the time.
Yeah. That's exposure points. That's what's
exposure
sold.
points.
That's exactly what it is.
And I don't know if she did any music afterwards or whatnot. But again, if you're going to the artists who did exactly or took the route they were supposed to take in order to sample this music, and they're paying them, and then I'm paying you too. So essentially, I'm paying two people. I don't see how that's fair. Now, I see where it makes sense is for somebody just being like, okay, I'm going to just throw her a bone because, you know what I'm saying, I appreciate what she did. But in the same token,
it could all be fixed if it was just percentages.
Yeah.
Right. If okay, cool. She sang on it. She gets 5%.
And just leave it alone.
Yeah. You know, this is what it is. She gets 5% residuals, whatever. But anybody that, like, I feel like it's just an expansion on the publishing, the aspect of music making, the songwriting aspect of it. That almost like, I don't know. The more I'm thinking about this idea, I'm sure somebody else has already thought about this, but I feel like this should be standard. I don't feel like you should be able to sell your ownership of something you create in that type of manner and just lose it.
And just lose it forever.
No, I don't think you should be able to do that.
Because Terry makes a good point about statute limitations type concept where once time passes.
And that happens anyways.
Yeah, but it'll revert back, obviously. But
it's like 100 years or something.
Yeah, but that to that part, like that's,
that's
bro,
not
you're
in
not
anybody's lifetime.
Nobody's going to get the kickback.
Yeah.
So, you know, everything to your point, legalities and stuff are in place, but things also can be tweaked and they can be changed.
Well, I mean,
she says she don't.
That's what I'm running on.
She says she does. She says she doesn't need it. Okay, that's what's up.
I mean, it's not about you need it.
Not need it, but I'll be okay. Is that what she said? I'll be okay. Good regardless. Is that what she said? I don't want to misquote her. I'll be good regardless or whatever. But
it's at the end of the day, the music business needs to be revamped and restructured because I mean we're in a day and age now where I mean the streaming services have taken over as far as how this music is being consumed in the first place. So we can't revert back to the same old laws when the same type technology and the same type of thing that's being sold is now 10 times, 20 times.
That's true.
I'm saying further down the line and more improved.
That's true.
So you need to improve those contracts as well.
Yeah, and I think nowadays it's a lot easier to do these things because of technology as well.
Yeah.
No.
Vote for loan so you can make some changes.
I'm running on socialism and music rights.
That's right.
Well, you know, it's you know, because I gave the
I won't get any votes.
We vote. I'm gonna vote for you.
But you know, we got the example of Debbie Deb, Clyde Stubblefield, and Vincent Price, James Earl. You know, but also, hey man, more. If you haven't, and I know, you know, a lot of y'all feel some way about DJ Vlad, but watch that interview with him and Jason Weaver when he talks about how
his mama, shout out to his mom,
and it was not just $150. They offered him $2 million in the 90s to, you know, which is life changing money. You know,
mama was like, nah,
we're gonna get that back end. And boy, I tell you,
he'll say it. I've seen multiple interviews of him where he'll say, I'm straight, still off that.
I'm still getting paid.
Straight.
And that's also Jordan's mom, right? Or Jordan's parents? Is that what true story as well?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you talking about like the air movie with the shoe?
Yeah.
I mean, look at Michael Jordan.
Jordan mama was on it. She was on it.
The two cases that we're talking about that are positive, they had more than one party involved. The ones where they messed up, they didn't have anybody else putting them on game. And I mean, another one was Pusha T with the whole McDonald's situation. He took a lump sum payment for the He did that. He took the lump sum payment and he screwed himself over on that.
They still
and then he ended up in Arby's. He ended up with Arby's and made sure he got his stuff together then. But I mean,
I mean, think about Iverson's mom. Yeah, he gonna need $50 million when he get 50. We're gonna go ahead and throw that in there to Reebok. Maybe he about to cash in.
Yeah, you got people that are on your team and helping you out, but then you have again, if she's 17 years old, I don't think she has the wherewithal to be able to make that decision on her own.
Nah. No.
Honestly, if she was 27, because the way
legally she doesn't.
I mean, yeah, but when you talk about the legalese and all this stuff that they put in the paperwork, and I'm not even sure, it might have just been done on a handshake. Hey, come record this thing in my garage or a back room. I'm
gonna make you a star.
That happens every day in the music industry, and you don't realize that what you have done is actually magic. And it'll turn into something. And then when it's time to say, hey, I would like to get paid for that, they'll be like, hey, man, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, and this doesn't just happen in those situations. We're talking about, little small independent. This happens when you go into the big rooms and the big buildings with the big companies. They still find a way to make sure that you don't get paid.
Yeah, this is Big Red Records.
I mean, so when you find out, someone does have a good record deal, you're like, wow, that's incredible. Because by and large, everybody has a shitty record deal when they start out. Yeah. I mean, and a lot of times you only get what you negotiate. So I mean, in the crazy thing is, you hear this story all the time about people walking in to talk with the record company, and and lawyer and record company are on the same side. So your lawyer is talking to their lawyer, but they're all working together.
Yeah, you got a public defender.
Crazy work. That's crazy.
Hey, you don't even have a public defender. You have a prosecutor working with the other prosecutor to not help you out in any, and then they get paid to kick you. They'll make more money off your album than you will.
Yep. Dirty game.
Yep.
On that note,
he's got AIDS.
All right.
And when he got those,
I ain't heard that in a while, man. That's throwback right there.
I do what I can.
Glad you did that. Oh, Bayou Billy got a kick out of that one.
I couldn't believe when that happened live. I couldn't believe it. Yeah,
it's a crazy moment. Let's go ahead and let's go ahead and run the partners, Jackson.
I'm so glad you did that.
Thanks to our partners. Dr. Coleman of Coleman Dental is our go-to dentist. He's a longtime Indianapolis arts and music supporter located right in Broad Ripple. Our good friends at Indie CD and Vinyl operate one of the best record stores in North America. Shop new and used in their site or visit them in person. And the best way to support the New Old Heads is to visit our Patreon and become a member. All details on newoldheads.com.
Legendary singer and member of Boyz II Men.
Yes, sir.
Sean Stockman.
Supposed to pull from the OGs and then just take what they did and move it up.
Yeah, try to make it better.
The problem with music is that these kids refuse the connection. It's not that it's not there. It's just that they just refuse it. They don't want to learn it for some reason because they feel like they don't. And again, I've been a kid once. I was 19 once. So I understand that angst. I understand that mentality. But when the OGs spoke, I shut the up.
Yeah. And listened.
When do you think that changed, though? Where along the lines here did that change?
Again, we are influenced by who runs the culture. The culture is not run by people who understand history.
I think he made some good points there. What you think, Jay? I know he's about to jump in.
No, I think
that's a fair assessment.
Because the thing is, especially when groups like Boyz II Men, because I'll reference who just spoke, when they were signed basically by Michael Bivins through Gerald Busby. So these are people who had seen him come and seen him go and had enough reverence to say and had enough respect where people could say, okay, these guys are talented. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and develop them, let them kind of bump and bruise to create a sound to where we can make something successful. Now, who are even the OGs who are signing artists or creating these acts that are being put out here? Who are the legendary record execs who are still out here, guiding the culture, if you will, right now? Because once again, you don't get signed because someone believes in your talent. You get signed because there is basically a bean counter that is, masquerading as a record exec who is more interested in your metrics, not your talent.
Right.
And so if you can do something that moves the needle, once again, like that's who controls the culture, the TikTok, whatever can garner you attention for 30 to 45 seconds, sometimes maybe only 15 to 30, because I can't speak on the other cultures, but I can speak on specifically black music. There was always, the guy who wrote songs or signed, the Jackson 5 and the Temptations and then the Commodores and Rick James. Like there was a lineage there of expertise. And that lineage stopped in the social media era. You know, so I think when you talk about who is controlling and guiding the culture, you know, there was a time where I don't think Sexy Red there would have been gatekeepers who ran these, like, this is not what we're going to throw $2 million into.
The situation that
now we just have anything goes because of clicks and whatever can draw attention. You know, when you sign a group like Boyz II Men, you're thinking, okay, they're still going to be able to perform in 20 years.
Nobody cares
when
now.
you sign. I don't think anybody is seeing it. They don't care about these young performers' longevity now. That's not a metric that even comes into your mind.
Well, it's because too. A lot of when we talk about younger people coming up, they don't pay attention to a record label. They pay attention, can I get myself off the ground and make this happen on my own? So in that turn, once that happens, they feel like they don't have to listen to anybody because I made it and people start looking at me because of me. So I could care less what you have to say, which is the wrong thing to do because I can take advice from him who's been in the game and can teach me how to mold my situation to fit in the game for longevity versus for just this moment. And a lot of it boils down to people actually taking initiative to be an OG. And what I mean by that is people even before they get into the business. So if they never had anybody in their lives or a situation where anybody helped mold them and put them on, then they don't have respect for the OGs or the older generation, so to speak. And you can see that's evident. Like you can go outside and see kids, younger people just talking any old kind of way to their elders. There's a lack of respect in situation.
Calling everybody bro.
Exactly. It's just not right altogether. And then when you put it in music terms, whatever genre that may be, people aren't trying to get those record deals the same way. Like back in the day, in order for you to get on, you had to have a record deal. You don't have to have that record deal anymore. So it's not as important for me to prepare myself to get on this record deal, and then they're going to mold me and make this artist out of me. People are literally getting on first, and then people come knocking out the door and got the contracts for you. And I can decide I just want to be by myself, and I'll pretty much hire me a team that'll help me be a better artist or whatnot. But I don't need any of y'all. So and I think that's kind of where the big head or the I don't need anybody comes from in today's day and time.
Do you think that it starts? You think that's like the root of it?
I think that
you know what I mean?
When it comes to music, definitely. But then again, as I said before, it stems from people not respecting
seems more cultural or societal almost.
It definitely is. Definitely a westernized type of situation. You know what I'm saying? Because when we think about how we maneuver and how we do things, you go overseas and they might have families that pretty much there's so much respect for the elders. The elder sits down first, you wait, you know what I'm saying? You do this and that because it's customary for you to do. Yeah. Those customs that we had, it's like they're just dwindling out and people aren't paying attention to them.
It's like the Americanized version of whatever that is just not. So even when I go and visit my wife's family, like her grandmother lives by herself in the house that she's lived in for 40 some years.
Right.
But of her 4 children that live in the city, once a week for 2 or 3 days, she goes and stays with a different person of the family. Mm-hmm. So she's traveling and seeing her, her sons essentially throughout the month constantly and staying with them. And I don't know that it seems like, I don't know.
It's customary for them.
I don't know if it's just like my particular perspective as being like, I'm sure you guys have a different, family perspective than I do. You know what I mean? And I don't know if it's white or black or like, I don't know because I can only speak from my point of view here, but my family wasn't really like that. You know, like we were sure it was like we cared about our grandparents and stuff, but we put our grandparents in like homes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
people do that.
And don't get me wrong, like people do that across all societies.
Yeah,
but,
that part.
But not as much like in other areas. Like it's pretty typical and normal in different countries for the elders to live in the family with the younger family.
Absolutely,
like it's the thing. It's not like you get to an age and you just kind of ship them out. But that is definitely a thing here, at least from my perspective. Like my family and people, related to me, like that was just the order of things.
Yeah.
So do you guys think?
I think that's all tied in, I guess.
Oh, 100%. You guys are spot on with the comparison, but if you bring it back to from a music standpoint, Jay made a good point about the concept of the OG. I guess I'm looking at it from a responsibility standpoint, or who weighs more, because on one hand you say the people, quote unquote, that are running it are unplugged, they're detached from the culture, it's a numbers game, it's this and that. But on the other hand, you made a very good point when you said what OGs are actually doing their part to, start that, grow talent and do that part. I think
they move those people out of the buildings.
Yeah.
They move those people. They're not long anymore.
What you mentioned when you talked about the OGs or the lack thereof, that's glaring. I hadn't even thought about it, because there are no OGs that you see, or at least that I'm not seeing on a major scale, that are doing that.
Once again, we don't have record company music people these are all multinational conglomerates, and you bring in people who are about the numbers. You don't do it's not about the feeling. It's not like, those guys can sing, let's go ahead and what 4-part harmony, let's put them in bow ties and tennis shoes and make that happen. Come on, you don't have people who have that creative mindset in these buildings. And we're especially when we talk about younger people, and I try not to be old man yelling at cloud, but I think a lot of the difference is, I can speak for myself, but I think everyone here is similar. When you got in your parents' car, you didn't play your music.
No.
If they drove you, they might have let you, turn it to a station, and maybe there was some mutual interest there, because, of course, this is at a time when all urban stations, if you want to listen to the urban station, it was pretty much geared towards adult. And so I got in the car with my mom and my dad, and if we went on a road trip, we listened to the mixtapes my dad made. That's what he wanted to listen to. Also now kids don't do that because everybody's got their fancy headphones.
When I think about this, the whole OGs conversation, and I don't know. I mean, obviously I understand where Sean's Stockman.
Yes.
I feel like I understand where he's coming from with not paying attention to the OGs, and I do feel like there's a lack of that type of influence in the music industry to that degree. I don't know if I can really equate or really have enough data to really say that it was so much different when we were young versus where it is now. The focus is when you don't have something changing constantly, you can go outside and you can get your shoes dirty. I feel like it's different now because there's so much information populating all the time. And I don't know if it's this ADHD generation of sorts to where it just got lost in the shuffle or something.
That's a good point.
When I look at this, I think of, you guys were talking about the big business models anyways.
Mm-hmm.
The big business models, the fact that there were OGs in the music industry in general is kind of an oxymoron in a way, because the bottom line is the only thing that anybody ever really cared about anyways. Mm-hmm. So it's
there was a quality control situation to where if you pretty much, in order to get in those doors, you had to be good. And then you had to create good product to be part of this label.
I would say that you had to be able to sell. And I feel like it was more aligned to our tastes at that time of what was good as opposed to now and what sells. Because now what sells is just virality. And it's just
you don't need the record. You don't need the record label though to sell or to pretty much build yourself. For sure. You don't need that system, essentially.
Exactly. But I guess that's kind of my point. And so when you don't need that, I feel like the OGs back in the day were guiding people through the music industry aspect 100%, of it, right? 100%. The music industry has changed so much that I don't even think anybody really needs to join the music industry at this point. I feel like you can just be successful without entering that system. I feel like we have enough information to know that you don't really need to do this unless you just, I don't know.
You know how stupid it would be now, or how it would be looked at if there was we'll just say that if there was a label with Motown model where you have to go to etiquette school and you have to learn how to do this and you have to learn how to do that before you can get to this part when we cut the records and all that. People would laugh at that now. Yeah. Why am I focusing on it? To his point, it goes too fast.
You'll miss your viral moment trying to go to charm school.
What am I polishing myself up for when I just came to you with 1 million streams or views on whatever?
Everything's a little backwards, and I think so because everything's backwards to the kind of the original point you guys were making. It's like working in reverse, and so the easiest thing to cut out unless you have those people around you, is just that middle person, which is that person that's guiding you. Because again, like if you have already got on based upon the merit of, not shaking ass, but like virality, I guess, essentially.
Yeah.
You know, and that's all that you see all the time. And there's no examples of the other thing being meritable or successful at all, because that doesn't really exist anymore outside of people that have those values instilled in them from like a family or something, like something to that nature, or an aunt or an uncle or something that's been into it. It's like people are just out here just like, well, I know that this works.
Mm-hmm. So to avoid that, I'm just going to do this because I know it's going to work.
Yeah.
And I feel like at that point, like, don't get me wrong, like I mentor a lot of people and I talk to a lot of younger people all the time about this whole thing and the things that they're doing. And some of my students that I have their father was like a musician or a beat maker, and they are definitely set up in a very different way than the person who comes in that just doesn't know anything.
That's kind of the point I was trying to circle around and to make essentially was based off of that type of situation. But I also wanted to bring up too, similar in sports with the NILs. NILs have created, and granted, I feel like the athletes should be paid for their likenesses and jersey sales and things of that nature. But these kids are going to school and are signing NIL deals, are making more than everybody at that university. Mm-hmm. Just because you have an NIL deal does not guarantee that you're going to whatever league in the sport that you play for. But is putting them in a different mind state to where the coaches are looking at them like they don't want to listen to us because they're already pretty much set up from that NIL. You know what I'm saying? And it's kind of similar in the music business because you've already got put on and now you want to come coach me.
Yeah.
But you can't really help somebody in the music get to the next level that's already there. Sports is obviously different, but there's some similarities.
I honestly think you can. I just don't think that most people take
not in
that
the same way. Not in the same way that you could back in the day, as far as
because there was a set of steps that you had to go through, right?
Yeah.
Like I still think that people that would take the NIL deal and also took the advice from somebody that was mentoring them or whatever, I think they're going to do way better in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think that's even a question, but this always goes back to me again. Like I tend to look at this from a societal standpoint.
Yeah.
And even when we talk about NIL deals, which is, it's great for the student because if the student's not making the money from it, who makes the money?
Exactly.
The university.
That's what makes it make sense.
And then it's like, okay, yes, in this world that we live in where everything is rooted around money and capitalism.
There it is.
But then when the student signs with Nike, that has nothing to do with the university.
Yeah.
So he said, I'm going to school, I'm being coached, I'm making more than everybody at this school off my NIL.
But it's all based around money though. It's all based it's all based around like, okay, this is good for me for my livelihood in my longevity, my wealth or whatever, but it's not necessarily good for I don't want necessarily good for the character, but it's like it's building in the opposite way, which I would say like the idea of not paying students, even though I don't agree with it, I understand it. Like I understand the idea behind wanting them to go to school.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if that's the case, then again, there's the cap. It's like you
can't avoid it.
It's exploitation.
Yep.
It's what it is. Like if you're going to do that and you're going to sell jerseys, then the students should be involved. They should make money off of it.
Well,
so to me, it all goes down to that almost every single time. So
this is where you can really, see a parallel with the music industry and the athletes in the NIL situation, is because the thing is with NIL, you got to remember the university is not paying these kids. It's deals that they're able to broker with,
boosters,
just different companies.
with a might be a restaurant or a car dealership or might
alumni.
be or might be
it.
I mean, that's where the things are starting to get a little crazy because it's like, where is that money coming from? Like, but at the same time, whatever, you know what I'm saying? As long as they get, rather than get that money from them instead of no money from the university. But, when you think about how these record contracts are set up, it's almost set up for like, we'll make you famous. your record won't generate any actual money for you. But if you're famous, you can go out and make sure you get into a concert deal. Now you got to sign a concert deal that's predatory at this point. If you know anything about how. What is it? Rock Nation? No, I'm sorry, it's Jay-Z. Live Nation. But, you realize that now they're setting up these concert and stadium deals that are just as predatory as record contracts. But okay, say you're still able to get a little money there. Well, go out and get yourself a Happy Meal or, get yourself a Super Bowl commercial. So if you do that, it'll keep you happy that we're keeping you famous so you don't come to us bothering us about no money. So, I mean, I do see a parallel there because a lot of times these record companies are not paying artists the same way these schools are not paying athletes. Yeah. Go out, you can go out and find the money. We'll give you the platform. Go out and find the money, but don't bother us about it.
Yeah. But the difference in that situation is, even as an artist, I can still elect not to go through your record company altogether.
This is true.
If your music or talent or your image is that big, I don't have to deal with the record label at all. I can literally find the people, pretty much cut out the middleman altogether, find the people that handle those situations.
That's what they should do.
And just go there. You know what I'm saying? Versus going to the record label and signing that. And it probably has a lot to do with why Drake wants out of his deal. He's using his whole UMG thing because he knows he's the machine now. He knows he doesn't need it. But, hey, now we're here.
Yeah. So to say all that, I don't know I don't know what the solution is for younger artists and younger people to have more learned people around them in that type of manner, except for the people that are in that position to do more and try to put themselves in those positions to influence and to be help in those types of ways. I don't know if there is a solution to it.
I don't think there is.
Because everything is pulling, because if you just let it flow naturally, it's just going to flow towards exploitation. So it's going to take, I don't know, man. I don't know.
And there's also the situation where the OGs aren't being OGs as far as teaching.
Yeah.
And then the youngsters not, you know what I'm saying, paying attention or even wanting to do it because they feel like they're doing it on their own anyway.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think the consensus is there really is no formula for this.
Yeah, there is. And capitalism.
Do not have the answers.
I do. I've told you, man. I tell you every week.
Literally, this is America, so that's not going to happen.
Not at all.
It can happen, and almost
it's not going to happen.
We were getting closer.
Is that when you're voting? Is that another one of your points for when we vote for you? Or what office is this?
Well, definitely. I mean, Bernie was a step in that direction before he was ousted. You got something on your cheek. Hey, all I'm going to say is this, and then I'm going to move on. Socialism is the natural evolution of capitalism. So
put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Yeah. I'm just saying. Yeah. Will it happen in our lifetimes? I don't know. Will we turn into China? No. Will we all die? Possibly.
Yeah, I don't think it's feasible.
It's tough, Lone.
I don't think it's feasible. People are too money hungry and too materialistic.
I just don't think people know what it is. That's my thing. That's all because capitalism and socialism are very similar.
Well, a lot of times
people think socialism and think of
communism.
Yeah,
they think that. I mean,
they think it's communism
because they rhyme. That's enough for people.
And people think that China is communist. It's not. It's capitalist. But it's actually a split model. But that's another conversation.
I was about to say.
Anyways, what is Kanye's best and also most impactful era?
Kanye's been in the news. I think he hit for $2 billion on Yeezy, if I'm not mistaken. Thank you, sir. I actually saw a video of him working with his daughter. She was on the ASR a little bit. I guess he's starting to show her some.
Don't care.
Yeah, I thought that was dope. I
don't care. It's Kanye.
No, it's not.
He's a Nazi. Don't care.
Yeah, no.
Just saying.
I just like to see
he's anti-Semitic. Don't care.
We've checked out on Kanye.
We're having a conversation about Kanye, though. So I mean,
we talk about his personal life. We're talking
about his eras. I don't care about where he is now. He's got a lot of reconciling to do.
Before we can give him peas about the real life stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
just like I'm not giving an Elon a pass for his fake. I'm giving you my heart solution. No. He doesn't get one. He doesn't get one either.
Elon been showing out. All right. Well, Kanye's got multiple eras, so I think I got my answer. But sorry.
So you can no, you're good. I was just being stupid. But as you can see, kind of on the screen, or if you're not watching and you're listening, so we have 96 to 2002, his early work in Rockefeller. 2003 to 2006, the college dropout and late registration era. 2007 to 2009 graduation, 808s and heartbreaks, and the VMAs incident. 2010 to 2012, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, Watch the Throne, and Cruel Summer. 2013 to 15, Yeezus and the Yeezus Tour. 16 to 17, The Life of Pablo, and I thought it was funny, the tour cancellation, because that's not anything really positive, is it? It was like a $10 million lawsuit or something, but
yeah.
17 to 19, Yay, Trump and the Wyoming sessions. 19 to 23, Jesus is King, Donda 2, Vultures, and I Am Anti-Semitic. Not me.
Edit. Yeah.
Not me.
Yeah, make sure you get that out.
That's him. Like, he's Jesus is King, but also I don't like Jewish people.
Yeah, but I don't.
But
I don't care for. But the King of the Jews is cool. The rest of you, not so much.
So I would pose two questions. Which one of these eras do you like the most, or do you think is his best era? But also, which one out of those do you think would be most impactful? Because those could be two different things.
They can be two different things. Well said. I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I prop for me personally. I may go with 03 to 06
as your favorite.
Yeah, I think 03 to 06 because being in college and remembering the college dropout, then going straight to late registration, coming off the producer that he was with I know the early Rockefellers before that, but him as a producer leading up to that and then following it up with late registration, that was a crazy time, bro.
Yeah,
I'm talking about from the music being dope, the rise of Rockefeller, inspiring producers like myself, yourself back then. That was a powerful wave when he initially got started.
No, I think I actually agree with that. I think my, to your point, favorite of this era would be 2003 to 2006, personally.
Man, he was.
I really wish Graduation was lumped in there as well.
True, but it's weird because I'm noticing the years aren't the exact same segments. You have some that are 2 years long, some of them are 3 years long.
It depends on what he was doing, though.
And granted, these are like when shit was released was a little different back then too. But
true.
I don't know. The College Dropout album really spoke to me because it almost sounded like if I was rapping, that would have been my album.
Yeah,
but that Graduation, 808 and Heartbreaks era.
You got to remember too, 808s. This is one thing I've always agreed with what Kanye says is 808s and Heartbreak started a lot of the stuff that's going on now.
Absolutely, you're talking about impact at that point, though.
Yeah,
right?
I mean that's true because we did split it up when you started it. That's fair.
I mean, I want to say 03 to 06, but I damn near got to say 07 to 09, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I ain't mad at you.
My favorite era easily is 2003, 2006. I mean, like,
yeah,
I can almost. I don't think Impact is. I wouldn't put Impact there.
We'll talk about Impact in a second.
Yeah,
next year.
I would. That's just because that's when. If it had Kanye's name on it, I bought it.
For sure.
Or like I wanted to hear it. Like at one point, I was going on to the sites just trying to find Kanye beat tapes.
Yeah.
Like I was all in on Kanye West and what it seemed like he was trying to do to where, I like the idea of him making music from the perspective of somebody who wasn't from the streets. And there's no knock against that. Before there was a time in this era to where it was almost like you had to have your prerequisite for even being in hip hop was a life of crime, and Kanye, I don't want to say he put an end to that, but he showed that there was another way to
He capitalized on it because when we talk about the actual backpack rap era, so to speak, whatnot. I mean, you can consider Talib Kweli and
Mos Def.
Def. You could even talk about Tribe Called Quest as cats that weren't necessarily from the streets but were hip. I think the thing that Kanye did is Kanye blended not necessarily I'm square, but he blended the two cultures together, and I can say they even fashionably.
Yeah,
because even from the way he dressed to the chains and things that he wore and the things that he talked about could be interchanged,
right?
But the way his delivery was of somebody that was aspiring to graduate for college, essentially. You know what I'm saying? But that 07, 09 era actually could have been a little different because after graduation was supposed to be Good Ass Job.
Yeah.
Which he was actually working on, and there's songs, there's been some stuff floating around that were supposed to be on that project, and some things actually got put on My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, and they just redid it a little bit. But with him losing his mom, it changed the trajectory of what he was going to do. Insert 808s and Heartbreak.
Yeah.
Which changed a lot of things musically when that came out based on that happening. So that's kind of why I picked the 07, 09 era. Really, if it could have been College Dropout, Late Registration, and Graduation,
no
I
brainer.
probably would have did that hands down.
Yeah.
But knowing what could have happened in that 07, 09 era and what it led to because of what happened is a feat in itself to me too, though.
What about most impactful?
Most impactful would probably be 2010 to 2012.
This is an interesting one too because we can go multiple ways with this.
Yeah, because you could use the 808s and Heartbreaks.
Is this musically impactful?
That's not where I was going.
Now you could use 808s and Heartbreak as far as musically impactful, but
I mean, I'm just saying, like, as we talk about this, because Kanye's so big that his music impact could be different from his cultural impact.
Yeah, because he had a whole shoe come out in the 2010, 2012 era.
Plus, he's too polarizing just to keep it on. When we talk about impact, just to keep it on music. I think with Terry, I think probably that 10 to 12.
That's what I was going to go.
Yeah, probably that 10 to 12 is where it just really was.
Arguably, a lot of times references best album.
That album is amazing.
And then Watch the Throne, that and the Cruel Summer stuff was actually, in my opinion, I like that more than both of those things.
More than both of what?
My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy and Watch the Throne.
Really?
Hold on. Cruel Summer.
No, that Cruel Summer was a compilation.
It was compilation. Yeah.
Which one was the one where he kept dropping singles all the time?
That was My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy.
No.
He's talking about the. He's talking about
like
the.
a whole bunch, My Chain Heavy.
Yeah.
He dropped like a single like
that
every
was
week.
going. That was pretty much prepping for.
So that
My
wasn't
Dark Twisted
that
Fantasy.
wasn't Cruel Summer.
Yeah,
then.
those were
No.
a lot of those weren't even on.
Then I don't even know what
Yeah.
Cruel Summer is. Then
It's a compilation.
Cruel Summer is a compilation with him and Big Sean.
Oh, I don't care
and
about that
Chainz
then.
and things. Yeah, I know you. Yeah, you couldn't have knew what you was talking about.
Yeah. Cruel Summer.
He was doing the Friday joints where he was dropping songs every Friday.
The Good Fridays.
Some of them ended up on My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Other ones were just songs. So he had the one song.
Was
with,
that 09 or 10?
That's probably 09, 010-ish, somewhere in there. It was leading up to the release of the album. He had a song on there on one of those Fridays that had J. Cole on it. And J. Cole actually was sneak dissing Kanye on that album. Well, on that song.
They were blacking out every Friday. It's blacking out.
I think I would probably have to change from 2010 to 12. I'd probably have to go 96 to 2002. I think the way that he was sampling and dropping records in the way that he was back then, his influence on the way the Rockefeller sound took off, the influence on, himself, which then turned into College Dropout and what he did for the next, 7 years essentially. That might be the most impact because I think the amount of inspiration that he fired from or spawned in creatives at that time to create that whole sound is pretty monumental. Now, granted, you could also say this from the Yeezy era. You could also say that from his later stuff as well for different generations because he spans multiple generations. But I think his early stuff in Rockefeller, my eyes, what I would say is probably his most impactful era.
I think that 2012 the collaboration with Hove, the My Dark Twisted Fantasy, and then Terry mentioned a part about this is around the time where he is this where the Nike collabs really started popping, the colorways and stuff like that. I think that if you throw all that in,
and then I Watch the Throne with Jay-Z, the tour,
that tour was huge.
Them performing the song 10 and 12 times in a row because it was so good at the time.
The Air Yeezy ones were 2007. And he started his collaboration. The first pair was released in 2009.
Oh, okay.
The first pair was
Air Yeezy 2 was 2012 and 2014.
Because remember, Kanye would be on all his interviews talking about, I'm about to design shoes, I'm about to do this, I'm about to do that.
So I'm guessing Adidas was right around the Yeezus stuff in 2013, right?
Or Pop,
probably.
Close, maybe closer to Pablo, maybe, or in between Yeezus and
15.
Pablo. 15? Okay, yeah.
When the brand started, so.
And that actually in itself,
that's
when
pretty
we talk about the
too.
cultural
Yeah, for sure.
That him having his deal with Adidas changed the whole face of pretty much being involved in sports and being a celebrity.
True.
Taking over the shoe game. Because, people laughed and joked when he talked about Yeezy jumped over Jumpman. For a minute, he did.
He actually did. Yeah,
He was releasing all kinds of different silhouettes and things of that nature, and they were selling out immediately. So the Yeezy effect is real.
I mean, music.
I don't know what he's doing now when the clothes, but
the music.
Shoes, but yeah, that was a special time culturally.
I checked out after 2012 musically, but I'm not gonna cap and say the impact. However you choose to look at it moving forward, there's a couple pockets in there that, good or bad, this the hella influence.
Yeah.
So
honestly, when I think about influence, I think about 2007 to 2019. All right, because this is when
to 19.
Yes, 2017 to 2009. Yeah, the Ye, Trump, and the Wyoming sessions.
2017 to 19.
You said 7.
Oh, he took
2017 to 2019.
I got you.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Partially because when this is an era where we were doing the podcast and we were consistently talking about Kanye West and we were barely talking about his music.
Yeah.
And that's how he was in the news every day as a famous person saying crazy things, but he was still getting people to wear, his shoes. He was still getting people to wear his executive homeless people wear. It was like, even if I didn't want to pay attention to Kanye West and I wasn't doing this show with you guys, like, it's like he was on TV for something on a regular basis and by and large wasn't particularly positive. But the thing is, there are a lot of people who got behind him when he was saying the most nonsensical, this is part of the anti-Semitism run.
The beginning of it.
Yeah. And to where he's bigging up Mein Fuhrer.
Most of those people voted for Trump.
And it's just like where... like I said, this is the part where I just really checked out on him, like to where I couldn't separate the art from the artist. I barely listened to his music only because we have to talk about it here. But by and large, man, I feel like it was the part that his career that is most disturbing to me and I find unsettling. But I feel like he was most influential to, because you still, whenever you see somebody just really talking crazy, and not say, there was a couple things I was like, okay, I can see where he's going there. Expand your mind. But, he was able to say crazy things about Harriet Tubman, about how slavery was a choice. I'm pretty sure this is all around that time.
Yeah.
And, and it sparked.
Almost call that the Candace Owens situation.
And it sparked conversations with people who honestly, who were big into meme knowledge. But those people are remarkably loud on social media and just, when anybody puts a camera in their face. So I think this is honestly Kanye's most influential era, and that's not particularly a good thing.
Yeah, it's fair. I'm happy that we're not talking about Kanye anymore. So, this was a cool segment, but it's cool to think about Kanye back when he was less crazy.
Yeah,
it's undeniable. His that run.
And let me be careful by calling him crazy, but he is. I mean that in the.
Yeah, don't crazy shame.
No, he's crazy in the sense that anybody that is anti-Semitic and in those type of manners, you're crazy. So
I'm crazy.
You can get it. Anybody can get it.
NewOldHeads.com for all the education you need this year. If you see it, like it, subscribe. Make sure you leave us a 5-star rating on any platform that has a rating system. Be sure to check out our Patreon options as well. And for everybody that tuned in this week, we appreciate the support. And we'll see y'all next week. Peace.
In a minute.